लल्लनटॉप इस समय फिर से मणिपुर में है। मैं और मेरे साथी विजय, हम लोग कुछ और अनअर्थ स्टोरी, अनहिडन तो करने से होगा, हिडन स्टोरीज और अनअर्थ स्टोरीज को खंगालने, देखने, जांचने, बाँचने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। ये रात के 8:45 इस समय हम लोग कांगपोकपी में ये इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं, जहाँ पे अमित शाह एक बार आके जा चुके हैं। जहाँ का टाउन एरिया तो अभी भी शांत है, लेकिन आउटस्कर्ट्स में अभी भी हिंसा की खबरें आ रही हैं। इम्फाल से थोड़ी दूर का इलाका है, पहाड़ियों का इलाका है। अगर मणिपुर के स्थानीय व्याकरण में बात करें तो ये कुकी बहुल समुदाय है, उनका इलाका है। इम्फाल और घाटी के जो दूसरे इलाके हैं वो मैतेई समुदाय के इलाके हैं। और हमारे साथ हैं एरन, और हम उनसे बातचीत करेंगे और हम उनसे क्यों बातचीत करेंगे इन सब के भी जवाब मांगेंगे उनसे। एरन, थैंक यू फॉर टॉकिंग टू अस। और द थिंग इज़ कि दिस वीडियो is not just for the people from Manipur. Many of the people from the different sides of the country will be watching this.
Okay.
So I want to make them understand कि उनको पता चले कि मैं आपसे बात क्यों कर रहा हूँ। ठीक है। So how would you like to introduce to our viewers? हमारे दर्शकों को आप अपना परिचय कैसे देना चाहेंगे?
Okay. How would I like to introduce to your viewers? See, we are actually engaged with the government of India for the last more than 7 years in a political dialogue to settle the Kuki political issue. We are SO groups. There are two SO groups at the moment in Manipur, KNO and UPF.
So full forms of SO?
Suspension of operations agreement with the government. So that has been ongoing in Manipur with the Kuki armed groups since 2008. I'm the spokesperson of one of the umbrella organizations, the United People's Front. So if you ask me how would I like to introduce, I would say I am just not a social worker. I am a national worker for the so-called Kuki Jo people who are suffering at the moment in Manipur.
So Aaron, I'll call you Aaron, is that fine?
No problem.
Okay. So just to make it very clear to your readers, so आप एक अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसके अंदर बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स आते हैं, आर्म्ड ग्रुप्स हैं, उनके जो सस्पेंशन ऑफ ऑपरेशंस में हैं मणिपुर गवर्नमेंट और इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के साथ, आप उसके स्पोक्स पर्सन हैं। और अगर मैं अपनी बात को और थोड़ा सा आसान तरीके से कहूँ, ठीक है, जो लोग समझते हैं जैसे, ठीक है, जैसे जेब कतरे को लोग भी चोर समझते हैं और घर से सामान चुराने वाले को भी चोर समझते हैं, किताब लिखने वाले को भी लेखक समझते हैं और एक लाइन का लेख लिखने वाले को लेखक समझते हैं। तो क्या आप लोगों को जो बार बार खबरों में मिलिटेंट कहा जाता है उससे आप एग्री करते हैं? इस बात से आप एग्री करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं?
हम बिल्कुल एग्री नहीं करता, क्योंकि हर स्टेट में सारे स्टेट का बैकग्राउंड हिस्ट्री है। हमारा मणिपुर में हिल एंड वैली डिवाइड है। हिल एंड वैली डिवाइड में हमारा हिल का नागा और कुकी का डोमिनेंट एरिया है। हम ये एंसेस्ट्रल लैंड्स ऑफ कुकीज़, जो एंड नागा हम बोलता है, और वैली में आता है मणिपुरी का। तो इसमें अभी मणिपुर इंडिया का अंदर जब स्टेटहुड मर्जर एग्रीमेंट के बाद जो इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो मणिपुर के लिए जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने दिया है, ये 90% इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द मेइतेई कम्युनिटीज़ हुआ था मर्जर एग्रीमेंट। और हमारा हिल एरिया में इन स्पाइट ऑफ बीइंग a separate entity, in spite of being not heard for the last 70 years, our issues, our interests has not been heard for the last so many years after independence. But the time has come when the government of India wants to, look at our political issues, and they have engaged us in a political negotiation, saying that the hill tribes should also have a political settlement. So this is when we started having problems with our neighbors, I would say the Métis community, because they have been enjoying for the last more than 70 years after independence all the incentives of statehood, while the tribals have not been able to enjoy or gain developments, gain benefits from India's independence. So I feel that's the starting point.
Okay. So you don't agree with this terminology that is being given to you. Okay. You met Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister.
You were asking me if I agree being called militants. So the reason why I explained the background was because we had a reason to fight. We had a cause. Militant कहता है जो without any reason or without any cause कोई हथियार उठा के violence करना शुरू होता. You can call them militants. But we have started this movement without guns. We have started this movement from our heart. So it started from the people's voice. It started from four leaders, four bears, like the chiefs who have defended our lands. So we cannot be called militants. We are only, we're not separatists. We are not even fighting the government of India. We are only trying to make our voices heard. We are trying to only have a political settlement so that we can all become happy citizens of India.
So, separate administration than Manipur only.
Correct. To have equal rights, to have constitutional protection in the current setup of Indian democracy. So that is the reason why, okay, we picked up arms, but that does not make us militants. We have a reason, we have a cause.
An idea.
Yes, an ideology, which is very genuine within the constitution of India. So I don't agree to the term militants.
Okay. Right now, but as we are talking, and before the interview I told you that I'm going to ask this. There are accusations against the you people. And when I'm saying you people, I hope you're understanding what I'm referring to. I'm not labeling you in some sort of things, but accusations which I'm hearing from the valley areas, कि militants have arms, quote unquote, है ना? उनके पास हथियार हैं, वो हमला करते हैं, वो घर जलाते हैं. इन accusations पे आपका क्या सोचना है? क्या कहेंगे आप?
Accusations कोई भी किसी का ऊपर उठा सकता है. They might have their own reasons, but again, when you say militants, Kuki militants, they would rather say the Kuki revolutionary groups or the Kuki armed groups.
Even this, and Biren Singh said in his statement.
See, I think he is misinformed. Like I said, you can call us the Kuki armed groups or the Kuki revolutionary groups. That would be more correct. And again, as I said, the reason why the government has engaged us on a political negotiation is because we're not militants. Had we been militants, why would the government engage us on political negotiation? I think that should suffice. But the allegations that you're talking about, before the situation started on May 3rd, we were armed. We were armed 35 years back. Since 1987, the Kukis have had the first armed group, the Kuki National Front, where I'm working with. I'm the General Secretary, I have my president, I have our cadres and collective leadership. Since 1987, the Kukis have started the armed movement. We were armed since 1987. And prior to that, there was a long story of trying to submit a representation to the first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, for a separate state for the Kukis and all that. But since it did not work, the Kukis have taken up arms to revolt or to fight for this cause in the highest level possible. So since in 1987, we were armed movement that has carried on, and the government has, like I said, decided to engage us under suspension of operations agreement and take us to a political negotiation. So we were armed before that also. But after the incident on May 3rd, if you try to label the Kuki armed groups, or if you try to accuse the Kuki armed groups of being, responsible for this violence, then that would not be acceptable, because it started as a tribal unity march. All the tribals of the hill areas came together saying that their yes, the tribal students union, they came together and had a peaceful rally in protest against I would say the Meitei's dominion. So all these accusations of trying to accuse the Kuki armed groups of creating problems would not be acceptable, because we have ground rules with the government, and the Assam Rifles, the Indian armies, the state police are there to look after and take care of the ground rules, and that has been happening every month in all the SO camps. So according to the rules, if everything is followed, then no one should try to, unnecessarily blame the armed groups or the Kuki armed groups of being responsible, of being creating problem just because guns are used in this violence.
Okay. Now we are talking about a few things. So now my question should be more focused and more pointed. From a person like me who has come from Delhi, I have been seeing violence and guns from the both sides. I'm not denying that. And I have my fair share of reporting from Manipur. I'm not comparing myself to anyone here, but what I have been reporting from here. So I have seen many things here. People fighting on the front lines, what we call this the front line, but is the part of the Indian land.
Yes.
So people are fighting on the Indian land on made up borders, which is called front line. Okay, people are fighting on front line. I was in Kakching, and we were hearing automatic fires. We were hearing mortars. We were hearing shots. We saw the weapon. Both sides, sir. I'm not mincing my words. Why itne zyada hathiyar? How and why did they arrive in Manipur? Be it belong to Kuki community, be it belong to Meitei community. Itne hathiyar kyun aaye, sir? Kahan se aaye?
See, Lallantop, you might have understood by now that the situation is very unexpected.
Yes.
And I don't think this has ever happened in any part of India.
And unwanted as well.
Yes, very unwanted. And I sincerely believe this has never happened in any other state in India. Because we have seen, though not reported in the media, that the state forces, the commandos, in Manipur we have the chief minister, Meitei chief minister. We have his cabinets, mostly the Meiteis. And then we have the security forces. So I would say many of the security forces, 70%, 65 to 70% would be Meiteis. Then in this situation, when the Meiteis are engaged in a communal violence with the Kukis, they have taken everything in their hands. They have used all the state forces, whether we call it the Manipur police, or whether we call it the commandos, or whether we call it the IRBs, which are under the state authority. They have all used the state forces and the state arms and ammunitions against the Kukis. This is open. This is an open secret. Video footage, they cannot hide anymore. We have had video footages where the commandos have come to attack the Kuki villages. They're engaged in firing on the innocent public. And today, according to our reports, we have reports that the Métis have approximately 4,000 automatic weapons in their hands, which belongs to the Manipur state
Security arms corps.
Yes, looted from the arms corps of the state forces, and over 5 lakh ammunitions. So, unfortunately, I feel there is no one to control them at this moment. And if this has happened in any part of India, we would have seen precedent rule that might have come in, we would have seen Article 355 enforced in the state so that the law and order situation can be controlled. But again, in spite of the situation where the Métis have all the guns, all the authorities, and all the powers in their hands to fight the minority Kukis, the center has been watching. The outside, the neighboring states have been watching. Of course, we have had the Honorable Home Minister, the Union Home Minister. We have had the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, who has visited the state after the violence. But I feel that the Métis are still taking law into their hands. And as the Chief Minister, as the majority population, and as someone who controls the state forces, they have used everything that is in their hands, that is everything that is in the state of Manipur, against the Kukis. And I think this should stop.
And what about Amit Shah? Amit Shah से आपकी क्या बात हुई थी, क्या मुलाकात हुई थी?
We were happy when the Honorable Union Home Minister was there to listen to our issues, because honestly, even the leaders within the Kuki society were helpless, because the Chief Minister of Manipur was the Chief Minister even for the Kukis, so to say even for the Nagas and even for the Métis. Or I would say the security forces were there to protect all the people in the state. But we have seen that the security forces of the valley have started attacking the Kukis, and the state forces were used, the authorities, everything. All the Métis have, in spite of being the chief minister, in spite of being the security forces, have joined hands with the Métis. But when the Union Home Minister has landed or has given us that hope that he will look into the issue, and as the Center Home Minister, he will bring in peace, he will solution for the victims, that is us, and especially when he understands that this is not just a law and order situation. This has been a long-pending issue of identity and land. So we had great hope. Actually, it was a closed-door meeting. I cannot disclose a lot of things. But yes, we were happy. At least there was the center who understood that we were the victims, we were killed, which was unconstitutional, which was unwanted, and which should not go on.
And what about the hills? Because we still hear the rumor when you talk to people from the Imphal Valley and all. We still hear the rumors that in the hills there are still UG groups are active, and the situation can escalate any point of time. They say this,
Why the hills? Why the hills? Why not the valleys?
Okay.
You have how many armed groups in the valley who are not even under ceasefire or suspension of operations?
What are those groups? Could you name them?
We have the PLA, we have the UNLF, we have the KYKL, a lot of them. They are actually separatist group. They are actually fighting for sovereignty. When you say, why question the hills when you have people fighting in the valley for sovereignty against India? In the hills, yes, there are armed groups, but they're just fighting within the constitution of India for constitutional protection. I'm not saying all the armed groups are right, but we should look at it from the perspective of Manipur as a state, not the valley or the hill.
अपनी तरफ से कुछ कहना चाहेंगे आप?
हम ये कहना है कि इंडिया में जो सॉल्यूशन करना है, सरकार भी मानता है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के अंदर जो हो सकता है सरकार करेगा. कोई सॉवरेनिटी डिमांड करेगा, कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का बाहर में डिमांड करेगा, तो इंडिया के नॉट, द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के नॉट engage them into a negotiation or try to understand their situation. But that is happening with the valley armed groups. They're based in foreign lands. They have a demand which is outside the constitution of India. They want sovereignty. But if we look at the cookies, I think it's fair because our issues have not been discussed. Even after being a part of India, we feel that we still have issues of land ownership, we still have issues of identity, and to be equal citizens with the other citizens in the rest of India, I think this has to be, once and for all resolved. That is why the cookies feel that taking up arms and starting an armed movement would help them resolve the cookie political issue, and hopefully this should be resolved. We are moving in a positive direction.
Okay, last question was, it could be the last question, now the last question it is. People are saying, and even a part of media is reporting it, that most of the news, what I can analyze, is from the valley only. Okay, but when I hear that in the hills, there's still violence going on. Is this reality?
Yes, I would say violence is going on in the hills because in your visit in Manipur, maybe in the last 2 or 3 days, have you ever had an incident where a village in the valley is attacked? Why we have violence in the hills? Because they have come from the valley to attack the village in the hills. So that is the reason why you're saying there is violence in the hills. Because we don't attack ourselves. One Kuki village does not go to another Kuki village to attack. If someone have not come from the valley to attack us, there won't be violence. We are only trying to stay defensive. And I'm 100% sure that none of the Kukis, would go out trying to attack, because we know that we are lesser in numbers. They're heavily armed. We know the number of arms they have in their hands at the moment. We are no comparison to them. But like I said, in spite of being under SOO, in spite of being unarmed, in spite of village volunteers holding their licensed guns to defend the villages from getting burned, from getting the family members killed by attacks of the Meitei, I would say, we call it the Meitei, Lipun and Arambai Tingol, and now I say the security forces of the state also.
Not central forces.
Not the center forces. I appreciate the role of the center forces there because with the limitations they have in their hands, they are doing the maximum they can to protect the victims. That I can understand. They are not being biased. I see, had the center forces not been here in Manipur till now, I think they would have swept the whole of the entire Kuki areas. But again, coming back to our point, you're saying that violence in the hills. I'm saying violence in the hills because someone has come to attack villages in the hills. The Meiteis, if they don't attack the Kuki villages, there won't be violence in the hills. Right now, as we are talking, a village in this very district, Khamenlok, has been under attack since yesterday, and we've got reports that in spite of coming in huge numbers, in hundreds, maybe 600s to 900s, the Meiteis have come to attack one Kuki village, but many of them have died. That's what we've got to know. But again, this evening, they have come again to attack, and the village is under heavy attack at the moment. And when the media reports, they would say violence in the hills. Why? Because they have come to attack the Kuki villages.
That's why the violence is happening as per you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aaron, for talking to us. Thank you so much for taking us so much time. लल्लनटॉप पे हम इस पूरी बातचीत पे जो रिपोर्टिंग है, इस पूरे मसले पे जो रिपोर्टिंग है, वो हमारी जारी रहेगी. हमारे सवाल, हमारी बातें, हमारे जिज्ञासाएं शांत नहीं होंगी जब तक हमें कोई मकबूल सवाल का जवाब, हमें कोई मकबूल जवाब नहीं मिल जाता अपने सवाल का, कोई हम एक मुकम्मल सच नहीं हासिल कर लेते. आप लल्लनटॉप देख रहे थे.